When the Royal Automobile Club are asked to test a production model, they certainly do the job thoroughly. Austins wanted to establish just how many miles to the gallon could be expected from their A35 on a long run with average driving conditions. One of the first questions the customer asks about any car these days. So the RAC officials came along to the Long Bridge Works to pick an A35 off the production line with a metaphorical pin. Here's their choice. Of course, it would have been all the same whatever vehicle they had picked for the test. The Long Bridge Works turns out an A35 every 2 minutes, and they pride themselves on the fact that all these lively little cars are as alike as 2 peas, built to the most rigid standards of engineering perfection. But a test is a test, and the only way to ensure absolute fairness is to choose one out of the hat. From this moment on, the car, a 2-door saloon, never leaves the watchful eye of the RAC. Only the routine final inspections are permitted, no special treatment. Certainly, the checks are very thorough, but they're the same as any other A35 receives before it leaves the Austin plant. Only one modification is fitted, a special straight-up filler tube inside the boot to allow for exact measurement and for locking up between fillings until the test is finished. The test is to begin and end in London, but first the car is run in, exactly according to the handbook, with only the standard 500 and 1,000-mile maintenance, all under strict RAC supervision. In the words of the RAC report, items recommended in the maker's handbook were dealt with only, no special preparations, tuning or other attention being required or permitted. For the trial itself, the fuel used is Shell Premium, and the usual recommended grades of oil in the sump, gearbox and rear axle. No upper cylinder lubricants or other additives are used. At the Fulham garage, which has been chosen as the starting point of the 500-mile test, the tank is filled to the measuring mark. Leslie Webb, the RAC's chief assistant engineer, is the official observer on the trial, and the man at the wheel is Joseph Lowry, joint technical editor of the motor. Everything's in order, and they're on their way. Here is the test route, 524 miles in all, a big triangle across southern England and the Midlands. The first leg runs southwest from London, through Salisbury and Dorchester to Lyme Regis. The second leg turns northeast to Swindon, Banbury and Leicester to Lincoln. There'll be no time for sightseeing on this trip, of course. And finally, the home stretch through Peterborough and down the long road to London. The route was chosen to give as representative a mixture of open road, hills and traffic as possible. For while a run of the same mileage across the flat and empty lands of East Anglia, for example, would certainly produce a lower consumption figure, that's not the object of the exercise. What the buyer of a car wants to know, and what Austins are trying to find out for him, is how many miles to the gallon he can expect, not how many he could expect if he were able to choose his own roads. For example, every motorist who has to travel westwards from London knows only too well that tiresome bottleneck through Staines. Once over the river into open country, the weather starts making things difficult. Heavy rain and a headwind. But that's motoring for you, and a fair trial must take the weather as it comes, just like the ordinary motorist. The rain's still pelting down as we pass through Salisbury. The cathedral city is left behind, and for a few miles we hit a brighter patch, but the wind's still against us. Lowry and Webb break for lunch at Dorchester. Leslie Webb checks that the boot is locked. He, of course, has the only key. And so strict are the RAC test conditions that the car has to be parked where he can see it through the window while he's eating his lunch. Off again on the last few miles of the first leg of the triangle. Still that southwesterly wind, but if it holds, it'll be behind us on the second leg, which will even things up a little. Still, even with the headwind, we're some 20 minutes in hand on our scheduled average of 30 miles an hour.